AM560.com, on the AM560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Who sings this song, John Anthony? Because you can't, you won't, and you don't stop. Oh, that's so bad. Come on.
I don't remember the name. I know the song. I know the beat.
Beastie Boys.
Oh, they white. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Just kidding. Can you imagine if I said that, if it was the other way around?
Who said you couldn't? See, that's the problem. What a perfect segue.
High five.
Yeah.
All right, John Anthony in for Dan Proft for the next few days. And you're always here when we're very busy and have lots to talk about, which is good. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, there's some rumblings that Senator Joe Manchin might run for president in the No Labels party because he's having a No Labels event. So that would be good.
Yeah.
And then at 8:38, I can't wait because I saw the movie Sound of Freedom, and I felt like I wanted to do more. I mean, I've never been motivated by a film to like, how can I help out? What can we do to stop child trafficking? I want you to see it on a number of levels because it's being slammed by the mainstream media as propaganda and QAnon conspiracy, which it is not.
You know what my first bill was that I passed?
What?
I linked up with Inc. 180. Chris Baker does a phenomenal job with sex trafficking things that would allow anybody underage, because in Illinois, if you were under 18, you could not come into a tattoo parlor. We removed that so that now anybody underage can have their tattoo removed and covered up. Removed, rather.
You mean tattooed?
Right, like let's say one of the somebody that's caught up in sex trafficking.
In the movie, right? When they get
they get branded,
kidnapped, they get a tattoo put somewhere on them. Yeah, branded
by the pimps.
Right. So that's
my first bill was we allowed them to go into a tattoo shop and have that removed.
Wow, no matter their age.
No matter
in
the
Illinois, are there a lot of victims of sex
he has
trafficking?
a wall. He has a wall of handprints of everybody that's come in. It's over 100, I believe. He works with the Homeland Security, FBI, and all those guys.
Okay,
they come to his shop.
You have a homework assignment.
Yeah.
Today or tonight, you have to see Sound of Freedom.
All right, I'll talk to Deborah.
Well, she can go too.
Okay,
and
she wants to see it too. So.
No, you have to see it. Okay. It is a thriller. It is a horror film. It is a drama. It is real life stuff. So it's but you have to see it because then we have to talk about it tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good.
But we will talk about it later today.
Okay.
All right, now we welcome back to the program our good friend Jennifer Say. She is former president of Levi's brand until, listen to this, she publicly opposed the closure of San Francisco public schools at the height of the pandemic. She's also a retired member of the U.S. women's gymnastics team and producer of the Emmy-winning film Athlete A and author of Levi's Unbuttoned, The Woke Mob Took My Job but Gave Me My Voice. Good morning, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me again.
Good. So for those of us, well, I know your story, but John Anthony, he's in for Dan Proft today. Can you tell us the backstory on what happened to you when you spoke up during the pandemic?
Yeah, I had been at Levi's for a very long time. I started there in 1999 as an entry-level marketing assistant and worked my way all the way up the ladder. Became the chief marketing officer in 2013 and held that post for 8 years. Successfully helped the company go public. In 2020, from the very beginning, March 2020, I was outspoken about the need to open public schools. P.S. While the private schools were open for in-person learning, I don't know how anyone could think that's fair. And I was told repeatedly over the course of 2 years I needed to stop, that what I was doing was racist, that I was a conspiracy theorist, QAnon crazy person. And I declined to stop advocating for open public schools, which my own children attended in San Francisco. And ultimately, I was asked to leave, or told to leave, in January of 22. But rather than leave and sign a non-disclosure agreement to get the severance they offered me, I quit very publicly so that I could talk about the censorship that was happening in communities and corporate America across the country. And so I wrote the book that you mentioned, Levi's Unbuttoned.
And now that you've also produced a film, Athlete A, can you tell us about that and where we can watch it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Athlete A came out in 2020. It details the crimes of Larry Nassar and the investigation and the brave women who, came forward to, report his crimes to the police. Larry Nassar, for those that don't know, was the team doctor for USA Gymnastics for many, many years, over 2 decades. I think he worked for the team for over 30 years in a capacity as a trainer starting out, and he abused over 500 young athletes that we know of. And it was a long road. People often say, well, why didn't these girls or women come forward sooner? And the fact is they did. People came forward as early as 1997. They were ignored. He would come forward. And just so people are clear, he was abusing these young women under the guise of medical treatment, which is just insane.
Yeah, weren't sometimes the parents in the room during the examinations and he put up a towel? I mean,
That's correct. That's exactly right, Amy. And these are young girls, 10, 11, 12 years old. They come in. They're grateful to be there. He's the doctor for the Olympic team. These are very young girls. He starts doing these crazy treatments, inserting his hands inside their body, covering it with a towel. Their mom is in the room. The girls think to themselves, this must be okay. My mother's in the room. He's treating a wrist, an ankle. I mean, it's madness, but he had this whole defense that he would tell the police if he was reported, and they believed him.
Well, the FBI believed him. Remember, the FBI interviewed Larry Nassar. And tell us about that, how they completely dropped the ball.
Yeah, well, they didn't even go so far as to interview him, let's be clear. In 2015, after, many reports to local police, campus police, coaches being brushed aside, in 2015, three national team members, Maggie Nichols, who is in the film, Aly Raisman, several others. Aly Raisman is Olympic gold medalist. They reported Larry Nassar to the FBI, and for well over a year, the FBI did nothing. They reported to the FBI in Indianapolis, which is where USA Gymnastics is based. They literally did nothing, and nothing happened until essentially the Indy Star, the local newspaper in Indianapolis, ran a story featuring a young woman by the name of Rachel Denton Hollander, who was abused by Nassar, more than a decade earlier. She was the first person to publicly use her name and likeness to report what happened, and it opened the floodgates. And within 2 weeks, 50 victims had come forward, and people were still denying that, this was criminal activity. They were still defending him, people in the sport, until the floodgates were just too open, and there were literally hundreds of women who came forward, and it had to be pursued. So, but yeah, the FBI did nothing for well over a year.
Wow. And I remember Simone Biles was one of his victims, and at his sentencing.
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on. What were you saying?
You're right. She was one of those first 3 national team members. So you think to yourself, these are women who have won gold for the USA. They have gone to the Olympics. They've competed for their country, and still the FBI did nothing. Not that it's okay to do more for an Olympian versus a regular person, but, what on earth was going on? They did nothing for over a year. These are famous young women who had competed and won gold for their country. Come on.
And he's not safe in prison because he got stabbed 2 days ago.
He did.
And it was at a Florida prison, but he was in another prison prior to being transferred to Florida where he was attacked as well. Because prisoners don't like child molesters.
No.
I think
They do not.
They need to know that.
They do not.
Wow.
But
All right.
to bring it back to the film, just for one quick second, the film is available on Netflix. It won an Emmy for Best Investigative Documentary in 2020. And it does, it's not just about Larry Nassar. It connects that his crimes, to the broader culture of sexual, physical, and emotional abuse in the sport. And it really prompted a movement within the sport. Young women across the country and even across the world demanding changes from their coaches, changes from the USA and national governing bodies demanding safer environments for these young women who are training around the world. So very proud of that film, and I hope folks will check it out on Netflix.
And you are going to be in town on Tuesday, next week, July 17th, and tell people where they can come and get tickets and buy your book and get to meet you.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining me. I'll be at the Frugal Muse in Darien, and I'm going to do a Q&A with you. I'll talk about the book. You and I will do a Q&A. I'll sign books, and I believe it's at 7 at the Frugal Muse in Darien. And people can just show up at the door and come on in, and don't make me speak to an empty room. Please come see us, both me and Amy, at the event.
Yes, and I'm sorry, it's Tuesday, July 18th. The location is in Darien, 7511 Lamont Road. And where can people buy tickets in advance? I'm sure we'll sell tickets at the door, but where can they secure a spot?
Oh, my gosh, you're asking me a question I don't know the answer to.
I know. I don't.
Can they buy tickets in advance?
They can, and they can buy them at the door, too. So we will just head to the event on Tuesday, July 18th from 7 to 9 p.m. John Anthony is cracking up right now. Why are you laughing?
I won't say. I can't say.
7511 Lamont Road in Darien, Tuesday, July 18th at 7 p.m. Jennifer, always a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday.
I can't wait, Amy. Thanks for doing it. I'll see you there and hope to see some of your audience there.
Yeah, they'll be there.
Everyone.
All right. Good. Thank you so much. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Will you stop laughing?
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
One of the most important decisions you can make as a parent is where you send your kids to school. But these days, it's never been harder to know which school is best. Public schools have changed a lot, and you might be thinking about sending your child to a private Christian school. But you also know that private school can be expensive, and in this economy, you might think it's not an option. Well, think again. With halfpriceschools.com, you can purchase tuition vouchers for half the price of normal tuition for private schools. For nearly 10 years, halfpriceschools.com has helped families from all over Chicagoland make the dream of private school a reality, and that can be the